afternoon. Hope you all are having a blessed day. And if you are just now starting your homeschool year or about to, I know some of us are still in the planning stages. Godspeed to you all. Those of you that year-round school like we do and have started and just kind of keep rolling, again, Godspeed. This video has been a long, short time coming. It was a subscriber request, and it kind of came in during the time we were moving, and I just did not have time to sit down and get this up. And actually, before the question came in, I did go ahead and vlog something. So I am going to share with you shortly, towards the end of my little blurb here. You'll see what I vlogged. But the question was, now this person is in Texas. The question was about record keeping and what to keep. Okay, I know a lot of us have multiple children. Even if you don't have multiple children, homeschool material, the work, it just compounds very quickly. I know just, 4 or 5 little ones on a day-to-day basis, that will add up toward the end of the week. You'll have piles of stuff everywhere. And, when I come and I show you all the room, a lot of times, I'm showing you the reality. There are piles, organized piles. That's just life, and you have to weed things out and, keep things flowing. But there are some things, you can do to kind of keep on top of it. Now, I know for everybody, what, is required that you keep, things like that, that is state specific. So I suggest you go and check out hslda.org. They are awesome, in the way of just all around homeschool questions like this. But specifically Texas, record keeping requirements, we're very lax. We don't have a whole lot of requirements and law and things like that here. We are considered private schools, but we're not required to keep very detailed things. Now, I can say from my experience, I have encountered situations where I have been asked and I have to provide. Okay, so I do look out for those things. I am prepared for those certain situations, and I think everybody should be, because you never know. You kind of never know. We're not, here, once you tell somebody you're homeschooling, the questions stop. There's no, let me see what you're using, how many hours. There's none of that. We're not required to divulge any of that. But like I said, there have been situations where I have had to provide certain details, and I'm grateful for just being able to do that, because it kind of cuts out a lot of the confusion and chaos and a lot of questions that I would have to answer, and then trying to keep track of who knows what information. If you all have been following, I have a special child, and it requires a lot of outside maintenance, and so that's where I'm going with this. I have to kind of keep a lot of people in the loop. So I keep track of certain things for certain reasons and periods of time, and keep it to a minimum. That is the most important thing, since we don't have to. Now, for the little ones, it's a little bit different than say middle high school children, especially if you're at that point where you are homeschooling for a season, where they may go back into school at some point. So you kind of you know, kind of have to have a little foresight, but you know, not too much. So, and there are lots of for those of you that are not in this state, there are lots of like I said, you can refer to HSLDA. That is the most what am I trying to think of, thorough site that I can think of that will give you all of your laws. Sometimes I know there are moms that do come in and share, but sometimes there are things, that key details that they leave out, even such as curriculum. You know, you may find someone using certain curriculum or certain things, and come to find out that's not what is required. They're not actually teaching what is required of the state. So that's just all around. When you are homeschooling or starting, take nobody's advice. Go straight to the source so that you are doing, you know, what you need to be. As far as records here, you know, records include attendance records. You want information on your textbooks, your workbooks that you're using every year. Possibly the, you know, the time period that you use them. You know, if you're schooling year round, a certain amount of months. Again, we're not required any set number of days or anything, but you may want to keep, you know, track of that. Samples of the child's work. Any type of letters if your child is going in and out of school. Any type of letters. You want to keep that stuff in a small, you know, portfolio. If you are testing them, like the Terra Nova or the California Achievement, any sort of testing that you do, you want to keep those kind of results with you. If your child is homeschooled under an IEP, they are eligible for accommodations to your local public school. Okay, whether it's a occupational therapist or a speech therapist or any type of therapy, they are able to receive that service at home under an IEP. Okay, it's a school drawn IEP, and you will have correspondence and things like that, and you want to keep some sort of some records with that. I'm trying to think what else. What I would say, what I would recommend on keeping those records, at least 2 years. At least 2 years, okay? For the high schoolers, you want to keep pretty much throughout their high school career, okay? So 4 years. And what I'm talking about is, you know, the hard and fast, not every little sample of schoolwork they do. You don't need to keep all of those things. Scan, you know, I know it's hard to store things. Scan them. That way you'll have a, you know, a record. If you need to ever pull up anything, it's there. And you don't have to worry about any, you know, paper storage. Every now and then somebody might ask you, but yeah, you're going to have your original copies. But scan those things, okay? The thing about the work, I will share, like I said, you'll see kind of what I went through this process, and what prompted was moving. Now, I always go through every month because papers pile up fast here. Work, you know, completed work. But moving, yeah, and we have moved, and I still found some things that I neglected to get rid of, so I have to get rid of some more things. But I kept it to a minimum of work samples, maybe, and I'm not saying it has to be the best work, but certain units of, you know, history, or you know, some language arts, or a good writing or something like that. You want to keep those things throughout the year. Something that we do is interactive notebooks. Those are really, I come to find that they're really good samples. Okay, so you will find that a lot of things we do, I keep notebooks because I figured that's a good way. You know, I don't like to waste the paper, first of all, but that's a good way to keep a record because they can see. Now the only thing is you have to date those things. A lot of times I don't date everything. It's on the blog, but I am starting more and more to date them. I'm a little more diligent with, you know, the high schoolers work than the little ones because they more so, you know, head their papers. But you would want to keep a date on those things, and that's pretty standard in every state. When you have to report and turn in a portfolio, the work needs to be dated, and you know, you want to just make sure you're covered in that way. Attendance records, we're not, you know, again, we're not required any set, you know, days to school as far as days and hours and things like that, but you want to, say you have a doctor's appointment or something like that, you want to keep that documented. You know, if your child has therapy outside of the home, someone may ask you, you know, for the same reason you remove them from school to keep them from being truant, okay, just how many days are you actually schooling this child, and why is it every such and such day this child is not doing anything? Okay, so keep that in mind. You know, make a note of that this therapy occurs, you know, every week, such and such day and time, and you won't have any questions on that. Again, you know, this is something that I have encountered when having to, you know, speak with individuals about how we do things, and remind them, okay, if you're coming into my home, obviously we're not doing any schooling during this time, and, you know, it could be a meeting that lasts anywhere from, you know, 10 minutes to a couple of hours. So, but I'm, you know, clever on that to make sure that they understand that, yes, this is actually, you know, we're not shirking responsibility. They are attending, and I can say, you know, because we have flex time, we may not, you know, we don't have a certain schedule. You know, we're not following schooling during such and such hours, and they can respect that. And they also respect the fact that, you know, if I have if we have a meeting, we need to coordinate with me, not just say, you know, this is when we are having a meeting, because we are in a school, in a home setting. So also keep that in mind. You know, keep your appointments. You know, if you're actively homeschooling under your laws, keep your appointments set to a minimum. That just also helps with the flow of things. But we don't do any letters of intent or anything like that. But again, you never know when you may face an investigation. They come up all the time for whatever. Homeschool laws are changing. These days, it's gotten ridiculous in places. They are in several states. Truancy officers targeting homeschoolers specifically, you know, just seeing the children out in places, you know, in the grocery stores and playgrounds and, you know, wherever. And it's gotten ridiculous. You would be surprised why you may have to answer to somebody, you know, a little bit or in large part. So I encourage you to, you know, keep track of certain things, but don't stress yourself out about it. Again, I don't have the room, the space, the capacity anywhere to store each and everything. I have to weed out things constantly in order to keep piles from flooding the room. So hopefully that was helpful. If anybody else specifically in the state of Texas, does watch this video, please share it, and also weigh in for the rest of us. There may be something I did not touch, maybe something I forgot, I'm sure. But hopefully, you know, I was as comprehensive as I could be, and you will see the footage. I think it's probably another 8 minutes after I finish talking of what I did. And like I said, even with that, I still found some things. I have a basket, a small basket of paperwork that I'm going through, and yeah, it's, you know, things that are not worth keeping. So, and we have started school, and I am in the process now of trying to keep it to a minimum. You know, we do write, but anything that they can do orally, I let them do orally, and I stay on top of the cleanup every month, if not before, but every month I go through and clean out and toss things that I do not need to keep. But right now is the time where I am reevaluating, realigning, replanning, and organization. I cannot tell you enough how organization is key. Organization is a must. It is a key to keep things running smoothly, and that's another thing you want to, you know, nobody should here come and ask to come inside, but there are certain instances where, you know, the investigation does go that far. You want to look organized. You don't want to get caught with your pants down, basically. Okay, we are to school with the bona fide curriculum. Okay, make sure it's not a sham, and so you want to look like that. That's why I said make sure you keep a written record of the curriculum. And I was asked that question, what curriculum are you using? And it went as far as, wait a minute, this curriculum is XYZ. So you need to be able to back it up. Is it a bona fide curriculum? Whether the curriculum is being used for a review or what have you, be able to back it while you're using it. Show, have something to show. We are only required here to teach math, reading, spelling, grammar, and of course in good citizenship. Okay, a lot of people lump that into Bible. That is fine. Science and history are not required for us, but most colleges will ask for those subjects. So we do delve into those subjects and teach those subjects. But you really want to make sure that you are teaching the required subjects. And that goes back to when I said asking someone else. You may see, you know, another a video or something on, you know, requirements and what they're using. And you will find, if you look up, if you happen to know where they live, that they may not actually be teaching what is required or how it's required. So be careful, be very careful. A lot of things I touch what is required, but that doesn't necessarily mean I stick and teach them the way they would. We're not public school, okay? So I don't have to teach it the public school way, but I do expose them, if that makes sense. So, and that's just what is considered in the state of Texas to be considered a private school. There are, you know, minimal requirements. Same as if it's online. It could be an online program. You have to, you know, follow the same requirements. And most of the time online, you're required a certain number of school days and hours, and so they keep track of a lot of information. but other than that, hopefully this was helpful, and I am going to go ahead and move forward so you all can see the rest of this video, and I will talk to you in the comments. Bye. Almost did not vlog this, but I've been going through trash paper. You know, you collect a lot of paper, and kids' schoolwork and things like that. This is just one bag. I have one more place to go through. Papers on the table in here, but yeah, this has to go, because ultimately I would have been packing this stuff up. So yeah, when life just gets so hectic, you toss things aside, but you know, really it's easier to deal with them in the moment. Yeah, but you live and learn. Live and learn. Toss those papers, junk mail, shred everything. Just, yeah, it builds up so fast, y'all. Can y'all relate? Let me know.